Hey lovelies, so today we're going to talk about Decoy Magick. So when you look at the definition of decoy, it's basically something or someone that you use to divert attention away from something else, or perhaps use to lure them to something, kind of like bait. And so that is essentially what we mean when we say that we perform decoy magic. So what can we use decoy magic for? Probably the most obvious reason would be for some type of protective work, which we'll go into a little bit more in depth. But you can also use the decoy principle to perhaps draw back or redirect a spell that you've already cast, that perhaps you've changed your mind or something's changed and you've determined that you no longer want that spell to come to fruition. And so you can use the decoy principle to change that up and make sure that it doesn't go to its target the way that it was initially intended. So the most common way to use decoy magic is through enticement or distraction. So you kind of want to, you want to tempt. You want to tempt the energy with an energy that you believe that it will be attracted to, that it is going to be a similar type of energy that it's looking to act upon. So for example, let's take something like mischievous energies or mischievous spirits. Well, they like to play games, so you can entice them, tempt them, distract them through the use of games and play and whimsicality. Is that a word? Those are the types of things that you would want to create in your decoy. On top of that, confusion is also another added thing that you can use with temptation and enticement. If you can confuse and tempt them, then you'll have even a better success of getting those energies or that mischievous spirit to your decoy. When you see things, whether it be in bottles or other kinds of workings, protection things like dream catchers, for instance, you'll notice, there's twists and turns and knots and braids and such, and that the energy then gets confused. It becomes a mode of confusion for those energies as they twist in and out and around those things, and that functions as a type of distraction in and of itself and can help it to stay contained within your decoy. Or you can use it through what's known as energetic similarity. And it's basically what it just sounds like. You are establishing your decoy to, in essence, have the same energetic footprint that you do, or the target does that you're trying to assist. Now, the trick with this, though, is that you have to be very careful. You need to understand the difference between creating a substitute versus creating a symbol. For decoy magic, we want to establish a substitute. We do not want to establish a symbol. So what's the difference? A symbol is something that we use that is representative of the target or yourself. It carries these same energetic signatures that you do. That it is in essence an extension of yourself. It's what we use to establish and create effigies, puppets, doll babies, because they in essence are representing the target, or sometimes in your case, representing yourself. That is not what we want to establish with Decoy Magick. We want to create a decoy. So we want it to be a substitute for you. So it's going to want to look, perhaps feel, have the generic superficial traits of you, but not really the essence of you, so that you don't have that deep connection with it. Because the whole intention is we want that unwanted energy or spirit to go to the decoy, not to go to the decoy and then straight to you because you're so attached to the decoy. And so kind of think of it as like you can create a life-size picture of yourself, a cardboard cutout picture of yourself, and put it in front of the window, and people might think like that's you in front of your window until they get a clue after like 5 hours. But that's what you want to think about. You're creating something like you, but not really you, and doesn't have the essence of you. Now, the types of things that you can use as a decoy are really just about anything. You can use inanimate objects, so you can use even just a rock if you want, and imbue it with similar energy as your original target. You can use effigies, so doll babies, puppets. You can also use servitors. So in a future video coming up soon, I'll be doing a full video on servitors in Chaos Magic. But you can create a servitor where its sole purpose is to act as your decoy, so that any malefic or any kind of spell work that you don't want coming at you will instead be absorbed and taken in by the servitor instead of coming to you, its intended target. You can actually use actions as a decoy. So you can set up a dance or a song to be a decoy to a particular working or a spirit. And lastly, you can create amulets. Witches' bottles are actually a type of amulet used for protective work with the decoy principle in mind. Witches' bottles are so commonly used in a few countries. These are used to render protection through the means of diversion. So although there's many different ways to create witches' bottles depending on the culture, the tradition, generally the object consists of a bottle filled with a mixture of various personal concerns or taglocks. You want them to, at least some of them, be human in nature. Rusty nails, pins, thorns, other sharp or unpleasant objects. If you want, you can also add some lethal herbs such as nightshade or hemlock. Many add their own urine specifically because urine actually attracts spirits and the spells that are looking for you, while the sharp objects entangle, divert, confuse, harm, damage, or even destroy it. You then typically bury or hide the bottle in or near the home so that you're drawing off and absorbing any malefic energies or other types of spell work or other ill intentions directed towards whoever's in the house. To date, they found over 200 witches' bottles dating from about the 16th and 17th centuries, with the majority of the bottles containing a combination of iron and human materials such as urine, blood, hair, and fingernails. It's actually an old belief that if a witch who means you harm walks over the bottle, he or she will experience great pain right on the spot and even possibly die. So when you are doing decoy magic, you're really doing it either proactively or reactively. So proactively, of course, is going to be more for protection when you are preparing and trying to protect yourself against potential attacks or potential malevolence from either a person or a spirit. Since proactive measures tend to mean that it's going to be going on and on and on. It's going to last a long time because obviously you can't predict when or if something bad is going to try to happen to you. You want to create a decoy that's going to be able to last quite a while. So when looking at particular objects, if you choose to use an object, you want to use something that, of course, is going to sustain over time. Basically, whatever you choose for your decoy, you're going to charge it. You're going to envision what you want it to do, what kind of energies you want it to imbue, if you want it to be similar to the target. And then once it's activated, then you're going to place it nearby the person who wants to be protected. So if it's yourself, you'll want to place it somewhere near you. If it's something that's wearable, you'll want to wear it. You can hang it, you can bury it, whatever you choose to do with it, but you want it nearby. Because we know that this is ongoing and for protective means, in that it's not necessarily going to be a one and done thing. You're going to want to check on it periodically. You're going to want to make sure that it's still intact. You might have to recharge it every now and again. So you do want to check on it every once in a while. So what if you're doing it for reactive work? So let's say you did a spell that for whatever reason, you decide that you don't want that spell to go through. And so you are going to create a diversion as a type of decoy magic. So the first thing that you're going to want and need to do is you're going to have to recognize where those energies are that you sent away, where they are in the process. Now, if this is, obviously we're talking about spells that you've created, but you can also do this for other spells that somebody else has created. If you're doing it for your own spell that you've created, this is going to be the easiest because you know what you did in your spells. You know that you can recreate the spell as you did and make the changes along the way that will redirect it to how you want it to now act. If it is a spell that somebody else has done, of course, that's going to be a little trickier. If you have an idea of what the spell was, if you know how generally that spell is cast, or typical things that would be used in that, or if you know the person and are aware of some of the things and tricks of the trade that they do, then obviously you'll want to incorporate that, because the point is you are going to, in essence, repeat the spell in a way so that you are recreating it to the point where you're sort of taking the spell back to when it was still being created and being established, so it's still malleable, so that you can redirect it and divert it to the new direction that you want it to go. I don't mean the new direction in terms of changing the person. I mean in terms of the effects that you wanted it to have. Now, when we're talking about recreating the spell, think about everything. So don't just think about perhaps the herbs or whatever the items that were used. Think about perhaps if symbols were used. You want to recreate those symbols, draw back to those symbols. So think of every component of that spell work that you did or that you think the person did for the spell that you're trying to divert. Another reactive method for using decoy magic is if you know that you've had malefic work geared towards you, and so you want to basically distract that energy that's coming to you. So when you know that a curse, a hex, whatever, some malefic ill intent was sent your way, then you're going to be pretty sure that that negative energy is going to be in or about somewhere near you or the target. And so that's, of course, the first place that you're going to start. You're going to want to use a methodology that's going to distract that energy. So knowing that that malefic energy is around your target, your subject, then you're going to want to have a decoy that's going to have been imbued with something that is going to distract that energy. So if it was a very hateful, something that was going to cause a lot of sadness or anger, then you're going to want to imbue that decoy with maybe a lot of happiness and light and love, because that is exactly what that malefic energy is looking for to attack. You will actually want to call out that negative energy. Call out that energy and envision it and direct that negative energy to that decoy so that it can move away from the originally intended target and land itself in the decoy. This is where your energy work and your sensitivities to energy really becomes important, because you're going to want to obviously be very cognizant of the energies that are moving about and pay attention to when you feel the energy has left the actual target and moved into the decoy itself. Once you feel that energy has truly moved into the decoy, then you're going to take that decoy and you're going to physically do something with it. You're going to bury it, or you can break it, stomp it, burn it. You're going to destroy it. You're going to get rid of it. And by doing so, you're, in essence, you've trapped it into the decoy, and now you're destroying it, ending it. Now, what if you are dealing with greedy energies or greedy spirits? Again, think about the type of working. If it's something that is going to be trying to remove something or suck something from you, take something from you, or spirit that's greedy, then you are going to want to, of course, entice it with things that it's greedy for. So if it's something that loves shiny things, a greedy spirit that loves to take jewelry or whatnot, then you know that you can entice it probably with sparkly, shiny objects. Think about what you are trying to entice and then imbue your decoy with those types of energies. Now, of course, the kind that we really would like to not have come to us at all, sometimes we can protect ourselves against it, but sometimes we can't, and it comes, and that is something that is malicious. So malefic energies, malefic spirits, those are the ones that are going to be really hateful, really angry. And so in essence, you actually entice it, kind of like what I was giving you an example earlier. You're going to entice it with something totally opposite of that. So think of it as like, this is a Debbie Downer. This is somebody that doesn't like to see when people are happy or having a good time. So you're going to want to establish your decoy as something that is happy and stable and full of love and full of happiness, because that is actually going to attract that malefic energy or that malefic spirit, because they're going to want to destroy that or impact that in a negative way. And so that's what you'll want your decoy to imbue. Now, the last type of energy or spirit that you can use enticement as your form of decoy magic with is for spirits or energies that are not necessarily malefic or baneful, but perhaps they're just irritating. You just don't want it around, and it's stuck to you, and it just won't go away. So these are more irritants, for lack of a better word. And the best way to entice them is really a like for like. So if it's a generally pleasant spirit, it's just kind of clingy and always, just wants to be with you all the time, then you can entice it with something that has similar energies, that's friendly and wants to make friends and wants to have companions, just not you. So you can imbue your decoy with those types of energies. It's probably less common that somebody is going to want to get rid of that or make the effort to get rid of something like that, but it is an option if it gets irritating enough. The last type of decoy magic I want to talk about are traps. Often they're referred to as spirit traps, and they really are more so for spirits versus for spell work. But the way that spirit traps work is it, in essence, uses a form of decoy magic to trap, quote unquote, the spirit. Now, these traps can also work for spells. You're going to want to choose carefully whether you want to create a trap versus some other type of physical decoy for when it comes to spell work. But certainly for spirits, traps work really quite well. They use the elements of confusion because it's usually a lot of twists and turns and braids and different types of twisty branches like devil's shoestring, string, different colored strands of string. Sometimes you will find broken mirrors in there so that, again, it causes confusion as the energies of the spirit roams around within and around the trap. When you are creating your trap, a very popular symbol shape that is felt really across many cultures to be an ideal shape for trapping energies and trapping spirits is the triangle shape. And you see that in many different cultures and many different practices. So you will see that in Hecatean magic, you will see that in the Goetia, you will see that in multiple cultures around the world that utilize the shape of the triangle along with the other components of the trap. So again, this was just a little bit of an introduction to decoy magic. There's, as with just about everything, an endless amount of things that you can do with this. Let your imagination be your guide. If you have used decoy magic in the past, I would love to hear about it. So give us a comment below. Let us know what you've done. Share some other things perhaps that you didn't hear in this video that you've used that may be helpful to other people. And with that, thank you again for watching, and we will see you in the next video.